Class, good afternoon. Okay, so today in our mathematics, we shall continue looking at statistics. Now, our lesson for today focuses on teaching us how to calculate the standard deviation for ungrouped data. Now, before we can dive deep into the lesson for today, I would like to remind you of the things that we have covered so far. In the first lesson, we learned about two types of data. We saw that in statistics, we deal with either grouped data or ungrouped data. Now, when it comes to ungrouped data, I did tell you the fact that this is the type of data that has not been grouped or categorized in intervals or ranges. To simplify this, I would like you to remember that ungrouped data is simply raw data. Now, when it comes to the calculation of standard deviation, these are the things that I would like you to understand. Firstly, you must learn how to calculate the mean for ungrouped data. So, if you want to calculate the mean for ungrouped data, this is the formula that you must use. You must say mean, which is symbolized by x bar, is equal to the summation of x divided by n. This symbol that looks like an E means summation. Now, the word summation simply means add everything. In other words, summation simply means the addition of everything in that particular column or row, in short. So here we are summing up all the values of x. We are adding all the values of x. And then we divide what we get on top by the total frequency. I'll explain this in more detail shortly. So, when you are calculating the standard deviation for ungrouped data, always start by calculating the mean or the x bar. X bar stands for the mean. Once you have calculated your mean, you can now calculate the standard deviation by using this formula right here. So, the standard deviation is given by the square root of the summation of x squared divided by n minus the square of the mean. The square of the mean. Remember, x bar stands for the mean. Now, for you to understand what I've just explained right here in clear detail, I would like us to look at this example. Now, example number 1 says, the table below shows marks which were out of 10 that were obtained by 20 people in a test. Okay, so this is the table that we have been given right here. So the row on top represents our data. Remember, in the introductory lesson to statistics, I did mention the fact that the numbers on top are your data set. So the numbers on top represent the data set, and then the numbers that are down represent the frequency. So in this particular table, we've got marks that are represented by X, and then we've got the number of people, which is just our frequency. So to add more meat to what I already explained, you must know that the numbers on top are your values of X. So whatever it is values of X. So in this case, our values of X are marks. And then the numbers down are the frequency, which are simply the values of F. Now, the question goes on to say, calculate the standard deviation of this, data. And then the Examinations Council of Zambia will indicate the number of marks this side, which is always 6 marks. So, when you find a question such as this one, you must be happy because it is very simple to solve. So, there are 2 ways by which you can calculate the standard deviation. You can either use a table or you can use the direct method. Now, the method for using a table is more organized, but the disadvantage of using a table is that it takes a lot of time. So, I'll encourage you to always use the direct method. The direct method is quicker and therefore it saves you a lot of time. Yeah, so when it comes to the direct method of calculating the standard deviation, this is what you are going to do. In step number 1, you must calculate the mean. So when it comes to the solution, okay, you must start by calculating the mean. Yes. Now, as I have already explained, I have said that the mean or the X bar is found by the summation of the values of X divided by the total frequency. Now, this N means the total frequency. The total frequency is always mentioned in the question, which is the total number of people, 20. But for you to find the total frequency, you must add these numbers here. So, N is the summation or the addition of the numbers in the bottom row. Okay, so Using the direct method, this is what you must do to calculate the mean. So you are going to say my x bar or the mean is equal to. So what you do is this. When you look at your table will have columns. What do I mean by columns? These are the columns. So this is column number 1, column number 2, column number 3, column number 4, 5, 6, 7, all the way up to 10. Our table in this case has got 10 columns. So for you to calculate the mean or the x bar, go column by column from bottom to the top. Always start from the bottom number to the top. Now, how do you do this? So we look at this column first. In this column, the bottom number is 0. So you get your 0 and then you write it here. After you write the 0, open the brackets, and in the brackets, put the number on top. Now the number on top of the 0 is 1. And then you say plus. Once you've said plus, go to the second column and do the same thing. Now in the second column, we have 1 as the number at the bottom. So you get the number at the bottom first. So you get 1 and then open the brackets. In the brackets, put the number on top. The number on top of 1 is 2. And then close the brackets. Do the same for the third column. So after each column, you say plus. So in the third column, the number which is down is 1. The number on top is 3. And then go to the fourth column after saying plus. Now, in the fourth column, the number which is down is 3. The number on top of 3 is 4. So the 4 comes in the brackets. And then do the same for the column that follows. The column that follows is the fifth column, where the number which is down is 2. And then the number on top of 2 is 5, which comes in the brackets. And then we do the same for the column that follows after saying plus. Now for that column, the number at the bottom is 5, and then the number on top of 5 is 6. Okay, and then you say plus the column that follows, the bottom number is also 5, and then the top number is 7. And then you say plus, here we have 2, on top we have 8. And then we say plus 0. We have the 0 here. The top number is 9. So we say 0 times 9. And then we say plus, finally, 1 times 10. So once you have written these numbers like this, then you divide all these numbers by the total frequency, which is 20. If you add all these numbers that are found in the bottom row here, you find that your answer will be 20. So when you do 0 plus 1 plus 1 plus 3 plus 2 plus 5 plus 5 plus 2 plus 0 plus 1, you are going to find that our n will be equal to 20. Like that. Now, once you have done this, you are going to say my x bar is equal to. So now, I want you to get your calculator and punch the numbers on top the way you have written them. Remember, your calculator has got brackets. So locate the brackets on your standard calculator and punch these numbers the way you are seeing them. So you're going to say 0, open brackets, 1, close brackets, plus, and then you go on like this. Write the numbers the way you are seeing them here. Once you have finished punching all these numbers in the calculator like this, you are going to press equals. When you press equals, you are going to find that the total sum of what is on top will be 118. This 118, you must divide it by 20. Like that. So it means our x bar or the mean will be equal to 118 divided by 20 will give you 5.9. So what this means is that our x bar is 5.9. In other words, our mean is 5.9. So once you calculate the mean correctly, you are going to earn yourself 2 marks. Of these 6 marks, 2 marks are given on the correct calculation of the mean. I hope by now you are able to calculate the mean without any difficulties. So, once you have calculated the mean, we can now go to step number 2. We can now go to step number 2. In step number 2, you must calculate this item. So I'll rub down here and I'll leave these numbers for a reason. So I've left out these numbers and then I'll now lead you to step number 2. In step number 2, you are now going to calculate the summation of x squared divided by n. Now, we already know that n is equal to 20. So where there is n, you are going to put 20. Now, how do you calculate what is on top? So, if you want to calculate the numbers on top, what you are going to do is this. Remember that in step number 1, when we were calculating the mean, we got, these numbers right here, and then we wrote them like this. So, in step number 2, what you are going to do, copy these numbers the way they are. Copy them the way they are. After you have calculated the mean, copy these numbers the way they are. Once you have copied them the way they are, start adding squares to the numbers in the brackets. So here we'll say 0 to the power 2, again here 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 to the power 2. The same thing will happen there, power 2, even here, power 2, even here, power 2, even here, power 2, even here, power 2. All of these divided by 20. So let me just repeat to make this one more clearer. In step number 1, we write these numbers this way without adding the powers. When there are no powers, what you calculate is the mean. But when you include the powers, you are calculating the number that we must obtain in step number 2. Once you do this, you are now going to say the summation of x squared over n will be equal to. So you get your calculator and then you punch these numbers the way you are seeing them. So what you are now going to do is this. You're going to say 0, open brackets, 1, close brackets, to the power 2. And then again you say plus 1, open brackets, put a 2, close the brackets, power it to 2. Do the same for the rest of the numbers. And once you are done punching the numbers on your calculator this way, you are going to press equals. Once you press equals, you are going to find that the summation of x squared will be equal to 764 over n. Now, our n in this case is 20. Where we are getting the n is by summing up these numbers in the bottom row right there. So where there is n, you put 20. Once you have done this, you are now going to say the summation of x squared over n will be equal to 764 divided by 20 will give you 38.2. That is what your calculator will say. So this is the second step. In the first step, we calculated the mean. In the second step, we calculated the summation of x squared over n, which gave us 38.2. Once we are done with step number 2, we can now go to the last step, which involves the calculation of the standard deviation. Now, this second step as well will earn you 2 marks. So what we've done here is also 2 marks. Once you've gotten these 2 marks, you can now go to calculate the standard deviation. But before we can calculate the standard deviation, I would like to remind you of the item that we have so far. So we have calculated the x bar, which is equal to 5.9, and then we have also calculated the summation of x squared over n, which is equal to 38.2. Now, once we have obtained these 2 numbers, it is now time for us to calculate the standard deviation. So to calculate the standard deviation, the formula that you use is this one. You are going to say standard deviation, which is simply SD. You say SD, or standard deviation, is equal to the square root of the summation of x squared over n minus, open brackets, x bar squared. Now, what are these 2 things? The x bar in these brackets is our mean. So where there is x bar, you will put the value for the mean, which is 5.9. Where there is x bar, you are going to put the value for the mean, which is 5.9, and then you square it like that. Where there is this, the summation of x squared over n, you are going to put this value right here because we've already calculated. To give you a reminder, don't divide anything because the divisions have already been made. Now that you have written your formula like this, you are going to say standard deviation is equal to the square root of, where there is this, put this number right here. So where there is that whole thing, we put 38.2. And then we say minus open brackets. Where there is x bar, we put the value for x bar, which is 5.9. We close the brackets and then we square this item. Once you have done it like that, continue working under the square root by saying standard deviation is equal to the square root of 38.2 minus, then you get your calculator and say 5.9 to the power 2. Now, 5.9 to the power 2 will give you 34.81. Okay? Once you have done it like this, you are now going to say the standard deviation is equal to the square root of 38.2 minus 34.81 will give you 3.39. Okay? Once you have reached at this stage, you can now calculate the standard deviation by finding the square root of 3.39. Now, the square root of 3.39 will give you a standard deviation which is equal to 1.84, correct to 2 decimal places. Once you have done it like this, they'll give you 2 marks as well. This means that you have gotten yourself the total of 6 marks that is given when it comes to the calculation of the standard deviation for ungrouped data. Okay? At this point, our lesson for today has come to an end. But for me to see whether you have understood what I've taught in this particular lesson or not, I would like you to try out this first assignment in statistics. So these are the questions for your assignment today. As per custom, once you are done writing the answers to this assignment, get your smartphone, capture your answers, and send them to my WhatsApp. I should be able to mark your work as soon as I receive it. With this said, let me wish you a good day. I'll see you again later when we shall learn how to calculate the standard deviation for grouped data.